Welcome to today's workshop, The Three Invisible Mistakes, Keeping High Achievers Stuck, and How to Break Through Fast. Reminder, stick around till the end if you're watching the recording or if you're here live because I've got some free bonuses I'll be giving away. You don't want to miss out on those. They tie into what we're talking about today. So first things first, I'm going to share my screen and then we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I want to first talk about why you feel stuck even when you're doing everything right, because I've been there. A few years ago, I was doing what high achievers like us do best, showing up every day, pushing hard, and checking the boxes. Under the surface, I was overthinking everything. I was overwhelmed by my to-do list. I was overworking myself in an unsustainable way. And I kept wondering, why do I feel like I should be further along by now? I was stuck and I couldn't figure out why. I was working more, pushing harder, trying every tool and tactic, but I was attempting to solve the wrong problem in the wrong way. Let me explain. My default mode, maybe yours is as well, was try harder. The harder I try, the more I'll win. The problem with most advice for people like us, the purpose driven, ambitious, and results focused people, is it always champions one train of thought: more. More hours, more effort, more strategies, more complexity, more information, more motivational videos. It doesn't work. Been there, done that. So I want to start with a quick story, a sad story about a fly. A fly is stuck inside of a room, frantically banging itself against a window, like this one over here, trying to escape. It's giving everything it's got: pure effort, drive, determination. It's convinced that if it just works harder, eventually it'll break through. But no matter how hard it tries, that fly is not going to get through that window. What the fly doesn't realize is there's an open door just a few feet away. And if it stopped, it zoomed out, took a deep breath, looked around, freedom, fresh air, and everything it wants is right there. The breakthrough that the fly so desperately needs is so close, but the fly won't stop long enough to see it. It is committed to the only strategy it knows: push harder. And eventually, sad for the fly, it dies there, exhausted, stuck, and never realizing that a different approach would have set it free. It's not a matter of working harder, you've tried that. It's about seeing the problem differently, maybe asking for help and trying a new approach. And that story is from a book called U Squared. It perfectly describes a trap that high achievers like you and me fall into all the time. And that sad fly, the reason this story resonates so much is because that was me more times than I'd like to admit. And if you're here today, I'm guessing that that fly might be you too. If you're here, it's probably because you've been pushing, you're showing up, you're doing the work, you've got goals and dreams, you care deeply about creating a life that's better, freer, and more fulfilled. And I'm guessing you've done the same thing that most high achievers do. You try harder than other people, you push to fight the resistance, or excuse me, you fight to push the resistance, and you're willing to stay up late, start early, and you always tell yourself, I'll figure it out. But it still feels like you're stuck. Shouldn't I be further along by now? You might be asking yourself. And maybe you even began to wonder, why am I working so hard, but not getting the results I know I'm capable of? And today, in this workshop, I'll keep it quick. We're going to talk about why. But first, I wish I was told the truth. I have to tell you something, and you might not want to hear it at first. You've been set up to fail. Not because you're lazy, not because you're broken, not because you lack potential, but because no one ever taught you how to win this game, the game that you're playing. Not your parents, not school, not even the personal development world. In fact, most of the systems you were handed came from people who were in survival mode, just trying to get by. So you inherited a broken operating system. And most people are doomed from the start. The real problem is you're running the wrong code. You're running on a series of operating systems, just like this phone or the computer I'm using to record this workshop. And you have two of them. Like I say, you have your internal operating system, iOS, which is your programming. That's your beliefs, identity, thoughts, emotions, things like that. Your programming, internal. Then you have your external operating system, EOS, your processes. That's like your behavior, your habits, routines, workflow, strategy. And here's what most people miss. If your iOS, your internal operating system, is filled with limiting beliefs, outdated scripts, and emotional baggage, and then your EOS, your external operating system, is built on urgency, chaos, and guilt-driven productivity, then it doesn't matter how hard you work. The system is perfectly designed to keep you stuck. That's why you feel like you're underperforming your potential. That's why you feel behind. That's why everything feels like a total grind. You're not broken, your system is. And if you want different results, you don't need more effort. You need a better operating system. So today, this workshop is your open door. Just like that fly trying to fly out the window, I've opened the door for you, and I'm going to show you how to change all of that. Specifically, we're going to walk through the 3 invisible mistakes that keep high achievers like you stuck and how to break through them very, very fast. These are the exact shifts I help my clients make to double their productivity, peace, and profit while saving them 10 plus hours a week for the things they love, all without sacrificing their freedom, constantly sabotaging themselves, or burning out in the process. So if you've been spinning your wheels, stuck inside the room, just like the fly, this is your open door, and I want you to step through it with me. We're going to step through it together. But first, I just want to talk, how did I learn what I'll be teaching? Why should you listen to me? Well, I didn't grow up with the kind of support most people think is required for success. I grew up in total chaos, if I'm being honest. Physical, sexual, emotional, and mental abuse. Lost my brother to heroin at age 16. On my own by age 17. Started using drugs at the age of 12. I learned early that if I wanted to live differently, I would have to go my own way and find answers that my family didn't. The operating systems that I inherited, they haven't always worked exactly how I wanted them to, unfortunately. My internal operating system, my programming, was cluttered with an identity formed by survival, not expansion, limiting beliefs about money, success, and self-worth, hard to break habits like addiction and self-destruction, emotions I was never taught to feel, let alone understand, and thoughts that repeated in my mind on autopilot and sabotaged my progress. While my external operating system, my processes, were a chaotic mess of unsustainable routines, constant procrastination, shiny object syndrome, chasing, masked as strategy or trying to figure things out, reactive to-do lists and unproductive days, and a productivity system that's built on guilt and shame, not on clarity. That sounds familiar. You're not alone. I had to learn very, very fast how to upgrade my own operating systems, or I'd end up destroying my life, or worse, I'd end up dead like my brother. Rest in peace, my friend. Now, it wasn't all that bad. The same fire that burns down houses can forge strong steel. The upbringing I had also gave me grit, drive, passion, a huge why to keep me going, and the unshakable belief that I would never let my life be wasted. But I had to unlearn everything I was taught in the process, and I had to rebuild my internal and my external systems from the ground up. So let's talk about my journey. I began upgrading my operating system at a young age. I rewired my internal beliefs, my identity, and my emotional patterns. I redesigned my external routine structure and workflow and learned all that I could about these 2 operating systems. And here's what happened. I made $60,000 or more dollars in my first year out of high school, just under 100K. I think it was like 82,000 bucks. I had multiple 6-figure years as a self-employed entrepreneur by age 20. I crossed the $1 million earn mark by age 25, and I found and stepped fully into my purpose since then. But even more important than the money or the scoreboard, I felt in control. I finally found inner peace. I've experienced true freedom, traveling, adventures, finding myself. I became wildly productive and consistent, and I started winning without constantly sabotaging myself. And what I'm sharing with you today is not theory. It's not some quote or cute quote that I found in a book somewhere. It's also not repackaged, regurgitated bullshit from another coach or influencer. It's the same system that I had to use to rebuild my life and design my life. And now I'm helping other people with transforming theirs. Because the truth is this, you're not stuck because you're broken. You're stuck because your system is outdated. And the good news, systems can be upgraded, and I'm going to show you how. So let's talk about the first mistake. That's why you came here. You want to know what's going on and how to fix it. The first mistake is that you're solving the wrong problem. Internal versus external. So the mistake, let's start with this. You're not broken or doomed. We talked about that. You're not lazy or undisciplined. You're not incapable or less talented. You've just been taught to treat internal issues with external solutions. So most people, especially high achievers, feel very stuck. That's just how it is. 1 sec, I got to sneeze. Excuse me. So what do? Well, they go searching. They find a new opportunity, a new quick fix, another YouTube video, another complicated strategy or tool. They're trying to solve internal misalignment that they feel through an external fix. I used to do this shit constantly. I'd feel overwhelmed or stuck, and my first instinct was one of 2 things. I just need to try harder and suck it up. Or I just need a better system, a better plan, more structure, something outside of myself, right? But it didn't matter how good the plan was or how hard I tried. I was still carrying limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, and unresolved emotions. Well, guess what? I would just sabotage it or self sabotage it anyways. So that's what would happen. And that's why there's this idea of spinning your wheels. You can't fix an identity or belief issue with a to do list. You can't solve misalignment with more effort or motivation. It's like moving in the wrong direction with full force. It's stupid. Here's what this looks like in real life. You set a big goal, but you second guess yourself. You map out a plan, but then you procrastinate taking action. You build momentum, and then you sabotage it with distractions or perfectionism. You keep telling yourself, oh, if I just had more structure, more discipline, I'd be further ahead. But here's the truth. Your results will always reflect your internal code, not your external effort. Okay? So the internal operating system. Let's talk about what's actually causing the resistance you feel. Your internal operating system is your programming, your beliefs, your identity, the unconscious rules that you live by, and your default emotional and thinking patterns. You can't outwork the wrong operating system. It's like trying to, I don't know, run Windows on a Mac. It doesn't work out of the box, right? It's what drives everything, the operating system is. And you didn't choose most of it. You inherited beliefs from people in survival mode. You absorbed patterns from childhood trauma or pressure or circumstances you experienced. And then you developed coping mechanisms just to feel safe that maybe don't serve you. And now those same beliefs or that program, that operating system, are blocking the life and the career you're trying to build. This is the real problem you face. You're trying to build on top of a fear of failure, a belief that you're not good enough, a story that says money is hard to make or that me taking some time to rest is lazy, an identity built around proving yourself to others versus aligning with your potential. That's not a strategy problem. That's a system problem and an internal one. When you upgrade your internal OS, your operating system, you'll stop fighting yourself. Because once what you believe, think, and feel align with your goals, discipline becomes easier, focus becomes natural, results will come faster, and that resistance you feel will fade. So let's just quickly talk how to start upgrading this internal operating system. Here's where to begin. First, reveal. What belief or patterns keep showing up that hold you back? For example, I'm not ready yet. It's too late for me. I'll mess it up anyway. Whatever's going on inside, you want to reveal that and become clear. Second thing, you want to rehearse the opposite. Visualize yourself and your life without these limitations. Mentally and emotionally rehearse a new program, right? You're going to redesign that operating system from the inside out. And then three, reinforce. You want to ask yourself something like, how would the ideal version of me show up right now? Step into that identity now. And it's kind of like fake it till you make it or be that now. It exists. Ask yourself the question and then act based on that clarity. You don't have to fix everything overnight. In fact, you can't. You've been this person for arguably, if you're watching this video, at least 18 years, unless I found a 15-year-old. In that case, you're a badass. But most of us are 20 to 35 or maybe 40 years old. And you've been this person for a long time. So you can't fix it overnight, but you can begin today and you'll see results almost overnight. You don't have to, or excuse me, you just have to stop trying to solve a software, aka programming bug, with hardware, a tool, or upgrading a tool. It's like, that doesn't work. You're not going to wash your car with a hammer. It makes no sense. Okay, that was maybe a bad analogy, but we'll keep moving forward. The first invisible mistake, just to recap, is trying to fix an internal problem with an external tool. You don't need a shinier object. You need to get into full alignment with your potential, who you really are, and a life that you're meant to build. And even when people start realizing this, they still fall into the second trap, one that sounds right or makes sense on paper, but actually keeps them stuck. So let's go ahead and talk about the second mistake. You're forcing discipline instead of finding clarity. So this mistake, you've been told that the reason you're not consistent is because you're not disciplined enough. Whether you said that to yourself or someone else has said that to you, but people shouting at you online perhaps. So you try harder. You beat yourself up for procrastinating. You load your calendar with more structure. You push, and then you crash. And then you feel guilty. And then you try to get back on track. And you tell yourself, oh, I just need to push harder next time. Or, oh, I just need to stop being lazy. I just need to get my shit together. I've said all those things. But the real problem isn't discipline. It's lack of clarity. Get that through your head. That's so important. You're trying to be consistent with things you're not even sure matter. You're forcing yourself to move in a direction you're not even certain is right for you. And you don't even know how to make what you're doing right now match the goals and the future that you desire. So you get overwhelmed, lost, or discouraged. You constantly start and stop new routines. You bounce between ideas, methods, and strategies. You start fast, but then fall short or stall out when the excitement fades. You spend all day trying to be productive, but feel unfulfilled and frustrated. You set goals that look good on paper, but don't actually feel right inside. You can't tell if you're resisting something or you're just on the wrong path altogether. And you're either drowning in today's work or you're just stressed out about the future and unclear about tomorrow's work. And so you assume, well, I just need to be more disciplined. But the more you force it, the harder it gets. So the real reason that you can't stay consistent is because discipline without direction leads to burnout. You don't lack follow through. I don't even know who you are watching this call unless you're here, in person. But if there's one thing I know about you, it's that you don't lack follow through. You just lack focus on the right things. Because when you're clear on what matters, why it matters, and what the next step is, you don't have to force momentum. Clarity becomes the fuel. When you know what to do and why it matters, discipline will become automatic. So let's talk about the cost of staying unclear. Here's what lack of clarity creates: shiny object syndrome, constant task switching, mental clutter and overwhelm, emotional fatigue and frustration, and the feeling of I'm doing everything, but nothing's working. So, this is where clarity is way better than discipline. Instead of asking, how do I force myself to do this? Ask, what matters most right now and why? When you get clear, your energy is high, your time is maximized, your action plan is simple, and your results are multiplied. So, let's talk about how you can find clarity today, even if things are chaotic. First, ask the domino question: what's the one thing I could do today to move towards my goals, such by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? That's going to give you the most important thing to focus on right now and drown out the noise. Secondly, simplify your to-do list. Eliminate anything that isn't essential. Maybe what you need to do is create a don't do right now list, not a to-do list. Like all the other shit can wait. Focus on the one thing. And the third one, clarify your vision. Where am I ultimately heading? Who am I ultimately becoming? Why does this goal matter? Who am I becoming by pursuing it? Clarity creates alignment. Alignment will create consistency, and then that consistency will create the results that you want. I learned this the hard way. Throughout my career, I tried to discipline my way to success, but the shame game and guilt tripping only made me self-sabotage more. Once I became clear on what I call my North Star, the GPS for life, so to speak, who I was becoming, what I wanted, why it mattered, and how I worked best, I stopped forcing consistency and started flowing into rapid progress. So again, the second mistake, or the second invisible mistake, is trying to force discipline instead of finding clarity. You don't need more discipline, you need clarity, because clarity is what pulls you towards progress instead of forcing it. But even when you find clarity, you still need the right systems to use it. And most people, as we talked about, are operating with systems that were never designed for the life they want. That's the third invisible mistake. Let's go ahead and break that down. So the third mistake, you're running an operating system you didn't design. Your internal and external operating system. So here's what the mistake is. I'm going to say something that's worth repeating. You're not failing because you're lazy. You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're just running on a system that was never built or designed for the life you want. As we talked about, you have two operating systems controlling you and your results. Your internal operating system, which is how you think, feel, and see yourself, and your external operating system, how you plan, work, and execute. Your internal operating system is your programming. It's what runs the show behind the scenes. Your identity and self-image, your beliefs about success, money, work, and your own worthiness. Your emotional defaults, overwhelm, guilt, fear of failure, fear of success even, whatever else. Mental patterns, overthinking, people-pleasing, perfectionism. This operating system was likely installed without your permission, from your upbringing, from school systems designed for compliance, not creativity, from a struggling society telling you what success should look like. This internal operating system creates your limits, that glass ceiling that you can't seem to break through. And then you have your external operating system. That's your processes, which is built on top of the internal operating system. And that's how your external operating system is how you operate day to day. That's your behaviors and habits, your routines and rituals, your workflow, your calendar, your scheduling. how you handle your energy, tasks, and priorities. If your external operating system is built on guilt, urgency, or what worked for someone else, it's going to keep creating results that are inconsistent, unsustainable, and misaligned. The external operating system creates your outer limits. That's the bottlenecks in your time, your ability to execute, and your capacity as a whole. So, what happens when both are outdated? Well, that's like trying to drive a Ferrari with a Honda Civic engine from 1995. You're the Ferrari, and your operating system is this really old and outdated engine. Yeah, it might run for a lot of miles. Like it's going to get you through life, but it's not going to be as fast and as cool as you want it to be. I promise. So, reminder, you're capable, you're driven, but you're stuck because your operating system was never built to support your next level. Instead, it's designed to keep you overwhelmed, doubting yourself, doing busy work instead of deep work, grinding instead of growing. That's no good. What is holding you back? You're trying to create extraordinary results and life with systems that are built for survival, not success. You are taught to stay safe, not to expand, to be passive, not to be powerful, to be compliant, not to be aligned with your truth and purpose. It's not that you're not doing enough. It's that what you're doing is being filtered through a system that you didn't choose or build for what you actually want. The solution: design your own operating system. You don't need to burn it all down. I've tried that. Not a good idea. You need to consciously rebuild your iOS and EOS, your operating systems, to match the identity, the lifestyle, and the workflow you actually want. You rebuild your internal operating system by rewiring limiting beliefs, installing a new self concept, how you see yourself, releasing the guilt, the shame, and all the survival patterns that were given to you or that you've experienced, and choosing thoughts and emotions that serve your future. You'll redesign your external operating system by creating a schedule and habits that support your energy and goals, by structuring your work around clarity, not chaos, by automating tasks and responsibilities, and eliminating friction and decision fatigue. When your inner and outer systems are aligned, you don't need to force results. The operating system creates them, like clockwork. So, this is how you do less but accomplish more, work fewer hours but with more depth and better results, and also reclaim your time without sacrificing the income or impact you can create. Once I upgraded my internal and external operating system, everything has changed. I felt more at peace and control of my schedule. My progress has been faster with less stress, and I finally stopped feeling like I was underachieving my potential. Not because I became more disciplined, but because I finally built a system that worked for me, not against me, one that I chose. So, reminder: the third invisible mistake the third invisible mistake is running your life on a system that was never designed for who you're becoming. The old operating system that you have helped you to survive up until now, but the new one, it's built and it needs to be built for your fullest expression and expansion. And here's the truth: you can upgrade both systems. You just need the right frameworks, support, and accountability to make the shift stick. So now you see it. You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're stuck because the operating systems running your life were never designed for your new life and goals. And that's not your fault, but it is your responsibility now. So you have two choices. You can take what we've covered today and you can go implement it yourself. And honestly, if you do, you're going to be ahead of 90% of people. Or if you want to go faster with more clarity and avoid the trial and error that keeps most people stuck, you can let me help you to fast track the progress and process. We'll upgrade the operating systems that make or break you together. Inside our private mastermind activation academy, this is where we upgrade your internal and external operating systems so you can finally double your productivity, reclaim 10 plus hours per week, increase your income without increasing the hours you work or decreasing the impact you make, build a workflow that aligns with your energy and values as well as your vision, one that's custom built for yourself, and start creating peaceful progress, not just pressure-based success or results. It's an operating system overhaul. That's what we're doing together. So who's this for? The Activation Academy is designed for self-employed creators, entrepreneurs, or busy professionals who are tired of spinning their wheels, know they're capable of more, but keep sabotaging their momentum, and want to grow their income and impact without sacrificing their peace, their energy, or their freedom. Who it's not for: This is not for people looking for quick hacks, one size fits all advice, or another productivity checklist they'll never follow through on. This is for people who are ready to lead themselves powerfully, build systems that serve them long term, and create results that feel good, not just look good. So let's talk about what you'll get. You'll get a complete internal operating system upgrade. We're going to go through and rebuild your mindset, identity, and belief systems, rewire it all to match what you actually want out of life and who you can be. Then we're going to do a custom external operating system design. We're going to map out your weekly planning, your deep work schedule and structure, and do some habit architecture, really build the cog for the machine, so to speak. We're going to get the foundation right with the internal and then build upon it with the external. You'll get live coaching, accountability, and support. You'll get access to my core frameworks, tools, and check-ins that help you to implement consistently. And there's also an optional one-to-one mentorship for those who want high-touch guidance and even some hand-holding, which is okay. So if you're watching this recording or you're here live and that sounds good to you, you can learn more by booking a call below. And then, yeah, we're going to audit your current game plan. We'll get everything mapped out. And if you want my help implementing everything we've covered today, if you want to rebuild your internal and external systems so you can create real momentum as fast as possible in 2025, then I'm going to invite you to book a free clarity and alignment session. We'll walk through where you're stuck, what system is failing you, internal, external, and what the upgrade path would look like for you. So we're going to map out the game plan to really diagnose and upgrade your operating system. So there's a link here for those of you that are live. I'll drop it in the chat. But if you're watching the recording, let me just drop that in the chat real quick. And if you're watching the recording, then I'm going to ask that you look at the description down below or check the email or however you found this workshop, whether you're like on YouTube or my email list or something like that. You can book a call. I'd love to chat. So now I'm going to switch to Q&A and resource giveaways. There is 4+ resources that I have on this Google Doc. I'm dropping them in the chat right now. So if you are live, you can go ahead and grab those. And in a second, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll unmute you guys. You can ask me some questions. And we can jam. Let's see how I can help you guys. If you're watching the recording, feel free to email me if you have any questions or book a call. We'd love to support you as well. Thank you for joining. This has been the 3 invisible mistakes keeping high achievers stuck and how to break through fast. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely did. And now let's get ready to answer some questions. Thank you to you guys who are here live. Let me just stop the recording. We'll jump in.